These notes are for Algebra 1. This is for measuring up day 1. The first thing that you need to remember how to do is when you look at a graph, you need to be able to find the x-intercept. The x-intercept is the point where it crosses the x-axis. So this would be your x-intercept. You will normally have a graph where you could count across. This one is just hand-drawn, so just estimate it. 1, 2, 3. So my x-intercept can be written as 3, or if you want to make it a point, this would be 3, 0. You also need to be able to identify the y-intercept, and that is simply where the line crosses the y-axis. It would be right here. Once again, we'll just estimate it, and we're going to say 1, 2. We went down, so that's like -2. If you wanted to write it as a point, you would say 0, -2. When they give you a graph with a line on it like this and want the slope, if you remember how, you could count up and do rise over run. The other way you could do it, probably what I would encourage you to do on the actual end of course exam, is go to Stat Edit and put 2 points in. It can be any 2 points. I'm going to use my x and my y-intercept. So my x values are 3 and 0. And then my y values are going to be 0 and -2. Once you get them in, you're going to go Stat Calc 4 for linear regression. Enter. And your slope, remember, is your a value. So it would be 0.667. 0.667. If you looked at your answer choices, it was multiple choice, and they were all fractions, you would either need to take your calculator and put the 0.6667, you got to go all the way across and do math enter, or it might be easier to just take each of your answer choices that are fractions, put them in, and see which one gives you the same decimal. And then you also have to be able to look at a graph and know, is it linear or quadratic? This one is linear because it is a straight line. Remember, a quadratic is a parabola, and it either opens up or down. Okay, another thing you're going to need to do today is determine if an equation is a linear function or not. And there are 2 rules when you look at the graph, at the equation, to tell if it's linear. And the first one is you can have no exponents. And the other one is that x cannot be in the bottom of a fraction, the denominator. You cannot have an x in the denominator. So if you had x equal 2y plus 1, this is linear because there are no exponents and x is not in the bottom of a fraction. If you had xy equal 3, you would have to say, well, when I get y by itself, what am I going to have to do? You're going to move that over and you're going to divide. So that would become y is equal to 3 over x. X is in the bottom. This is not linear. Okay, so get y by itself and then make sure there are no exponents and the x is not in the bottom of a fraction. If they give you a graph, and it'll probably have a line on it, I'm not really worried about the line, but they're asking you about the meaning of the slope, okay? Remember that slope is rise over run. We know that rise is up and down, so that would be y. Over your run is across, which is x. So think about the word on the y-axis, which is cost. Okay, it is the cost. This is always the word per, the number on the x-axis. Cost per shirt. That's what the slope is talking about. Okay, so if they give you a graph and they ask what it's representing, it's the y word per the x word. If they give you 2 points, like this right here, and they want the slope, you're going to take your handy-dandy calculator and you're going to go to Stat Edit, and you're going to put your points in. So your x values are 2 and 4. Then you go over and your y values are 1 and 5. Once you get your points in, you're going to go back to Stat, over to Calc 4 for linear regression, and A is the slope. You're going to have to memorize A is the slope, B is the y-intercept. If you have an r squared or an r, ignore it, we don't use it. So your slope here is 2. M is equal to 2. You're going to have problems that want you to simplify square roots. We talked about this a while back. We're just going to use the calculator and let it cheat for us, basically. You would take the problem they gave you, 3 square root of 12, and put it in your calculator. You do second x squared to get your square root. So 3 square root of 12, enter. And you would get 10.39. You would make yourself a note. That is 10.39. You would take each answer choice that they gave you, and you would put it in your calculator and see which one gave you 10.39, and that's your solution. Be careful if they give you one like this where you're adding, because you have to get out from under that square root. Okay, 2 square root of 3. At this point, you are either going to close parentheses if your calculator works like mine, or if it's showing it actually under the radical, you're going to right arrow and get out from under it. Then you're going to go plus square root of 5. But you have to get out from under that square root, or it's not going to give you the right answer. So you would write 5.7 down. You would take each of your answer choices, put it in your calculator, and see which one gave you 5.7. You're also going to have exponents, but we're going to let the calculator cheat for us on that. You're going to take this right here, and you're going to put it in your calculator at the home screen. Before you do that, you need to have a value assigned to x. It needs to be a small value, somewhere between like 2 and 10. So I'm going to take 3, and I'm going to store it as x. Okay, I did 3. I did the store button, which is right above on, x. Enter. Anytime I put x in, it's going to think 3. Then you just type this exactly like it looks. So open, x, rooftop 5, close, rooftop 6, enter. And we've got this number 2.06E14. 2.06E14. I'm going to write that down because I'm going to put each of these answer choices in and see which one gives me that same thing. So we're going to go x, rooftop 11, and it's not the same thing. We're going to go x, and it's not the same thing. And then we're going to go x, rooftop 30, and it is the same thing, so there's your answer. Okay, looking at the back, if they want you to simplify something like this, what I want you to do, because I want you to use the calculator as much as you can so that you don't have sign errors. As you go to your home screen, once again, make sure you have something stored for x. I know I do because I just stored it. And then you punch it in just like it looks. So you would do open 2x squared plus 3, close, plus, open, negative 3, x squared minus 4, close, enter. And I would write down negative 10. And then I would do each of my answer choices until I found the one that also gave me negative 10. Same thing when they want you to factor a problem. Put it in your calculator at your home screen. X squared minus 5x plus 6. And I get 0. Put in your answer choices and see which one gives you 0. All right, if they give you an equation and want you to solve it, we're still going to use a calculator, but now we're going to go to y equal. To solve an equation, you go to y equal, and everything before the equal sign goes at y1. So we will say 4x plus 3. Everything after the equal sign goes at y2, so 11 goes there. You're going to go second, calc, 5 for intersect, let it draw, enter, 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 and x equal 2. All we care about is the x, so x equal 2. So make sure you make yourself a note. You're going to do second, calc, 5. If it gives you an error, then you need to zoom out and do it again. All right, if they give you an inequality with choices and say which one is a solution for this, you could solve it by getting y by itself. But once again, we want the calculator to do the work for us. So you're going to remember that when you have a point, the first number is x and the second number is y. So this actually becomes 2 times 3 minus 5 times 1. Okay, I took this right here and I rewrote it using the first point. So I'm going to go to my calculator, get to the home screen, and I'm going to say 2 times 3 minus 5 times 1. And I get 1. And then I compare it. Is 1 less than negative 3? No, so that's not my answer. So now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say 2 times 1 minus 5 times 3. and I get negative 13. Is negative 13 less than negative 3? Yes, and so this is my answer. Okay, that's a little bit of what you're going to see on today's assignment. Call me over if you have questions.